right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We are here at 412-575-2600. That's the number of the hotline. Hit us up on Twitter at KDPomp or at the Pony Express. Andrew Fillipponi is in studio tonight. So good to see you here, Andrew, on a night where it was a very emotional one up at BPG Paints Arena. We both were on hand for that. And Marc-Andre Fleury got the better of the Penguins, who have now lost 6 in a row. So 2 separate stories. We'll get into the 6 losses in a row in a second. But, man, what a good way to end his career in Pittsburgh on a game like this for him. And I thought he earned it. He played very well, especially late in the game. And his last save on Lars Eller looked a lot like the one in Detroit.
Yeah,
where
that's
he
a
had
good
to
point.
stop Nicholas Lidstrom.
Bob, I'm here because, come on, T system. I'm waiting there for 45 minutes. I can't get a ride back. I'm sweating and I'm out of breath in studio with you, so I jogged down here. But, hey, it got off to a rocky start for him. It was 2-0 Penguins, and you go back to his game when he started for Chicago in that home opener a few years ago, and he got blitzed, and he ended up getting pulled and he yanked in that game. I don't think Marc-Andre Fleury, because of the emotions and the butterflies that come with it, I don't think he really likes playing here. We love to see it because we have so much appreciation and respect for him, but it's obviously an awkward thing, and I give him credit because he did buckle down. He did get that kind of emotional jitters out of his system, but come on, Bob. 2-0 lead for the Penguins. It's now 7 straight where they've given up at least 4 goals. This is not a good hockey team. And the sad thought I had leaving the arena tonight was, is this going to be the biggest game the Penguins play in all year as far as the anticipation and the buzz and the excitement for a game? Because they've played 11 games this year, and they've only won 3 of them. Not good.
I thought the only one was the nostalgic game where Crosby got 1,600, Malkin got 500, all in the same night.
Yep.
And then after that, now it's about your hockey club. And your hockey club right now has too many lapses in it. I said this the other day after watching their 4-game Western Canada trip, Andrew, that they're easy to play against. That is, they play sloppy hockey. They give the puck away, turnovers at a lot of different parts of the ice, and it results in easy opportunities for the opposition. We saw that in Vancouver when they got 4 goals in 5 minutes, 3 in 1 minute, and tonight 2 in 1 minute after a 2-0 lead. You have to learn how to play with the lead. You have to learn how to close out games. You can't give up 2 goal leads. I don't care what juncture of the game you're in.
Well, and then they don't make teams pay when they take a bad penalty. Now, they did get a second-unit power play goal in this game by Puustinen. But when the stars are on the ice together, when you have 4 Hall of Famers out there together, they don't make the team that committed the infraction pay for it as often as they should. And to me, that's really been the bugaboo all 82 games last year. And to some extent, it's carried into this season, Bob. It's just mind-boggling how dreadful that top power play unit is. And maybe we buried the lead here. I mean, at first I thought it was just an ode to Marc-Andre Fleury by starting Malkin and Crosby on the same line together. They played the whole game together. Bob, you've been here covering this team for almost 20 years with those 2 guys. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
No, never in a whole game. They've done it late in games when they needed some offense, and they've tried to jumpstart whatever. But
and it didn't work.
No, it didn't work. Although Raquel likes playing with them. He had a couple of goals. I thought there were some other good things. Their penalty killing at the end kept them in the game when they had multiple 2-goal or 2-man disadvantages. And I also thought Blomqvist, for the most part, made some big saves. But, you know, he's still a young guy, and they can't rely on him, especially the way they play defense. We got to take a break here, Andrew. We'll expand this conversation to the Penguins. Want to hear from you. We got some good tweets on this. And also, the Steelers off a big win to get to 6-2 after 8 games. Your thoughts on what you saw last night right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, KDK Plus and 93.7 The Fan. Our GMC Sierra tweet of the night comes from the Penguins, who say, win together and your family for life. And these 4 gentlemen have really put together quite the resume, each of them. And you know it's all coming to an end. It will for Fleury, and it will eventually for all the rest of the guys you see on this team, although the Penguins have brought him back for one final ride, and that ride has become a very bumpy one. And I want to get to this by Rich Hagelauer on Twitter, at KD Pomp, at the Pony Express. And I put this up because I think it's a fait accompli that Marc-Andre Fleury will have his banner raised to the rafters, just like Jaromir Jagr. And he says, no, he's not getting his jersey retired. Do you agree with him or me, Andrew?
I agree with you. They only have 3 guys, Briere, Jagr, and Sidney Crosby, and not Sidney Crosby, excuse me, Mario.
Yeah.
The issue is that a lot of these other stars they've had, like Paul Coffey, Ron Francis, Larry Murphy, Mark Recchi, they don't have long careers with the Penguins. Flower was here for 13. Sid's been here for 20. Malkin is right behind that, so is Letang. I think all 4 of those guys are going to have their numbers retired because they were key cogs in 3 Stanley Cup victories. So, no, he's wrong. Marc-Andre Fleury is top 5 all-time in career wins, and most of those are with the Penguins, and he is universally beloved here. He will absolutely have his jersey retired by the team someday.
I agree. All right, let's go to the lines at 412-575-2600. We will begin with Matt in Butler, who joins us first tonight. Hey, Matt, how are you? It's our number 1 Cochrane Go One Better caller of the night.
Hey, guys. Good evening.
Hey, what's up?
My comment here is these guys, I mean, the age of these guys is just every game showing up more and more. Letang plays awful defense. He was never that good. Should have probably played offense, but he plays terrible defense, and it's getting worse. I can't imagine what the crowd's going to look like in this game. Today there's a crowd because of Marc-Andre Fleury. What is the crowd going to look like?
Well, Thursday they have Anaheim, and that's not a good team right now. And then the Canadiens on Saturday. That'll bring out some. It's a weekend game as well, but I get your point for sure. And as far as Letang, again, he and Carlson both, you know what you have with those guys. Those are offensive defensemen who are prone to make mistakes. But it's not just them. Grzelcyk has not been very good. Graves has been bad, generally, I think. And if you don't get contributions from somebody other than Malkin, Crosby up front, then where are you going to go here? They have no support down there. I mean, Bunting hasn't scored in his last 14 regular season games. Hayes was brought here because he's a veteran. He hasn't done all that much, and the list goes on, Andrew. So they don't have a good – this is not a good hockey club.
Yeah, and you didn't even mention the fact that they have this goalie quagmire where Tristan Jarry is owed all this money, and he's down in the American League right now trying to get his head right. I mean, it is an awful situation. We thought Ron Hextall screwed it up, and no doubt, I mean, he left this administration, this regime, with a less than ideal situation. But Kyle Dubas has made it worse. His 3 marquee moves as Penguins general manager are the Erik Karlsson trade, the Ryan Graves signing, and the Tristan Jarry extension. All 3 of those, if you're being objective and fair, have been horrible moves. Even though you rid yourself of bad contracts with Karlsson, he's your highest paid player, and he has not lived up to that billing. So they've dug an even deeper hole here. The younger guys, Rutger McGroarty's now back down to the American League. You mentioned Bunting is not picked up where he left off last year. Drew O'Connor, I think, is even regressed a little bit. So it is really a messed up situation, and I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel right now, Bob.
No, I don't either. And Bunting, you could throw that maybe into this whole classification of bad moves. I expected a lot more from him for what they gave up in Gensel. You may not have been able to afford Gensel, but you got to get something out of Bunting, and so far no goals this season. We have another tweet. This is from Joe Ortman on Twitter. He says, 2 questions for the show. Number 1, how short is Sullivan's lease here in Pittsburgh? And number 2, anyone nervous about the Pitt defense heading into SMU? You know, SMU plays a spread attack. I know that. That may stress their defense a little bit. One of the reasons why Pitt is, I think, a 6.5-point underdog.
Well, that line's actually jumped up to 7.5, Bob. I think it's because odds makers are thinking there's actually a chance, and we'll find out. Actually, we probably won't find out because there's no transparency with injuries. But I guess there is the chance Eli Holstein doesn't play, and it's Nate Yarnell at quarterback based on what Narduzzi said on Monday. So that would absolutely affect the line in this game. And then what was the other part on the Penguins?
It's about Sullivan's short leash.
I don't think it's short at all. I think because of the money that they invested in him with an extension, he's also Team USA's coach, and I think the Penguins do not want to be the team that fractures a relationship with that guy. I don't agree with that, but that's just my opinion on why they're probably going to give him more leeway. Also his Boston ties to the Fenway Sports Group. So I think it's probably warranted at this point based on how they're playing. Not that I think it's going to be a cure-all. I would be stunned, Bob, if he gets fired before the season is over. I really would, even with as bad as they're playing right now.
I would agree with that for the reasons you said. Although the question is, are they not listening to what he's saying, or are they not equipped to carry out what he's saying? And if that's the case, then does he need to rethink how he is strategically, employing these guys or what they need to do? It seems like he still wants the pedal to the metal, the offense that doesn't exist anymore because every team in the league is as fast or faster than they are. You can't play that way. And then when you get a lead, I've seen too many examples of still careless play. You should be more protective of the lead when you get it. That doesn't mean you have to be less aggressive. It just means more sound. Don't pinch as much. They pinch at bad times defensively, I'm talking about.
Well, I don't think that there's a clear identity for the team, and I know that sounds trite or cliche or rote, but you see a level of sloppiness and carelessness where when they go back and they show why a goal happened for the other team, there's a missed assignment, somebody's not in the right place. And early in the season, which makes no sense because these guys all have fresh legs, there's almost like a mental fatigue factor where a guy is a step slow, maybe because he's not focused enough or not thinking properly, and then it ends up in the back of your net. So, those types of things happening now when you'd think there would be a total buy-in for the team is really hard to comprehend. So those are usually marks of a team that's tuned out their coach, but I just don't think that the ownership group and the management of the team views it that way.
Michael in Beaver Falls joins us right now on the hotline. Hello, Michael.
Hey, Bobby, Andy.
What's
the
up?
The new splash, wave, steel curtain, and the new speed steel offense and the special team surprise will have an excellent chance to make it to the last dance. Go Steelers!
Thank you, Michael. And you can be optimistic. You should. They're 6-2. But the second half of the season, they go from having one of the easiest schedules, at least on paper, to one of the hardest schedules. They have 6 division games all wrapped into one. In fact, today I was over there, Andrew, and the Hard Knocks team is starting to take over that area. So you're going to have the AFC North, all of them involved in Hard Knocks, and that'll make parking over there more difficult than it's ever been. I can tell you that firsthand. But this next few games coming after the bye week, and listen, that was a good win for them because it was a game that they could have lost, and in previous years they may have lost to teams like Arizona, New England, and they were in position to lose it at the very end of it potentially. But I thought my biggest takeaway from New York was, what are they doing on that 2-point conversion? That was, if you're going to go for it, don't go for it with whatever they were doing. I don't even think their team knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about some of the things that happened in this game, they only scored 19 points on offense because they were 0 for 4 in the red zone, and they gave up over 6 yards a carry. And if they were to lose a game, those would be the first things we would get into and dissect and really call them out for. But because they won, and because the offense moved the ball again in a cohesive way with over 400 yards, it's left me with a very calming effect feeling on where they are at the midpoint of the season with not only their record, but how their offense is trending with Najee Harris running the ball so well, 3 100-yard games. Even though Pickens didn't get the second foot in, I feel good about the way he's playing. Calvin Austin had a coming-out party game. Russell Wilson is involved both tight ends. He's played so well. They've averaged over 30 points in his 2 games. So, I ended up coming out of that game feeling quite good about where this team is projected to go and how I view the rest of their season because if you look at the Ravens, for example, and I know they made the Deontay Johnson trade, Bob, their defense is so bad, and we're not used to seeing that. They've given up more passing yards per game than any team in the NFL, and even though they got Deontay Johnson today, I don't see how that fixes or glosses over or covers up for that huge issue that team has. So I think the Steelers can win the division, and I think they're in position to win their first playoff game since 2016.
I think, to your point about Deontay Johnson, they probably figure if we're going to have a defense like this, we better score more points. And, he's had a pretty good start for Carolina with 3 touchdown receptions and almost 400 yards. So that for basically a 5th-round pick, I don't have a problem with that if you're Baltimore. That adds to what Lamar Jackson can do. But I thought, since you brought this up, it's something I never thought. And the great thing about sports is we have things that we've never seen. It happens almost daily. All right, 2 feet are required to be in for a George Pickens touchdown. 2 feet we're in. The right and the right, twice, but no left. Is this something that the competition committee should look at and say, well, how many feet is necessary, especially if you got 2 feet and both are the same foot?
No, because I think if you drag a foot and you drag it twice, I don't want to count that as a catch. So if you try to get 2 feet in and you drag your foot, then it comes off the ground and then you drag it again, I don't want that to be a catch. That's what differentiates the pros from college. You need 1 in college. You should have 2 in the pros because it's a higher level of football. We ask for and demand more out of these guys. George Pickens had so much room there. You know, it was a great hands play to catch the ball here. But really, Bob, it's inexcusable that he didn't get a second foot in bounds. I mean, think about how little space Santonio Holmes had on his touchdown catch in Super Bowl 43 to get 2 feet in. And you're telling me George Pickens can't get a second foot on that play? Come on now.
I'm going to give him a pass on that, only because, as you said, he had to go up and he had to have strong hands with it. He's being pushed as he was doing it.
Well, then that's a great defensive play to push him out. Okay. I'm going to give those guys credit then.
I'm not going to blame him for not getting. I'm sure he tried, but he was being pushed, and the foot never got to the ground. So it's very weird, that play. But then Mike Tomlin had to use a challenge flag, which again, he's part of the competition committee. He has to know that those are. I will say this though: they talk about touchdowns and scoring plays. What about just anything that could be a scoring play to be looked at? We've talked about this a couple years ago when they first instituted this. Why not everything that could be a scoring play be reviewed automatically without throwing a challenge?
Okay, I mean, I would be fine with that, but as long as everybody is playing by the same set of rules, every scoring play is reviewed, and they ruled it a touchdown on the field. So when that happens, you don't have to throw a flag because there's somebody upstairs who's going through it slowly, frame by frame anyways. And Mike Tomlin should have known that, and I didn't think his explanation after the game made a lot of sense. He's made so many right decisions, including the Russell Wilson call, that I'm not going to crucify him for it. But come on, Mike, you needed to save your time out in that situation.
We got to go to a break on that note. Come back with more. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call right here on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan.